move to our next presentation by Ankur Arora, Vice President Data Science and AI with MasterCard. Ankur presently handles the data science and artificial intelligence for MasterCard. He played a role in setting up AI infrastructure in MasterCard and building multi-million-dollar AI product. Can we welcome Ankur with big round of applause, please?
Hello everyone. So let me just talk about myself first. So I'm a PhD in data science from IIM Bangalore, and after that I went ahead and worked in MasterCard for the last 9 to 10 years and grown up like a VP there. So I've worked across the years in the same company, and I've seen how we build the data analytics practice, and on the top of it, how did we build the AI ML practice. So as you know what MasterCard does, MasterCard acts as a switch between the banks and the merchants, right? And we switch the transaction between banks and the merchants, and this is where our play is. And a lot of our solutions, if you see, are based on frauds. Can we capture fraud better for the banks and prevent fraud for them? The second other use cases are that we give a lot of scores and a lot of insights to the banks in real time. Like we give them some indication of credit risk if the customer is going to go delinquent. So these are some of the kind of use cases that we have been solving for our banks and, on the other hand, the merchants. So here, I think we started to build this AI ML practice, and what I think a lot of people talked here about data governance in general, but I think as we built an AI ML practice over it, so we had a unique set of challenges in terms of governance of the data that we actually faced when we were building this AI ML practice. So I think today's discussion will be around what challenges did we face as MasterCard when we started building this AI ML practice. So I think first of all, I think the biggest challenge that we were facing was this data was huge, and even internally, like, because this is a very regulated industry, we cannot just use cloud so much, because it's a financial transaction data. It has to reside in premise data. So that was a unique challenge, right? And to run AI ML workflows on a internal on-premise data. So I think that's for the first challenge, and we were producing a lot of data, and it was actually becoming very difficult for us even to store the data, and to run AI ML things over it was even more difficult. Then the second challenge that we were facing is that a lot of our solutions were all real-time solutions. Like we were predicting fraud at the runtime, so even that data was increasing. Like we had solutions which are very real-time, and the data size was also increasing from that perspective. And the third is that we actually hired a lot of data scientists across the globe, and these people had access to almost all the data. And we were thinking, how do we kind of build systems and processes so that not everybody has access to everything. But it was very difficult for us to understand, like, who should be given what accesses, and what framework should we build to prevent accesses to the people. And it has a little bit of a other flavor also. Like if you don't give access to people to the huge data set that we have, and we were acquiring other companies also, so the data size was getting huge. So the problem that we are facing is that if you don't give access to them, so it may just happen that they will not innovate. They don't have the unified view of our data, and it will just prevent innovation from happening. That was the third challenge that we were facing. And the fourth challenge was that our data size was also increasing in terms of the PII data that we was capturing, right? So PII data is very difficult from MasterCard point of view, because you cannot store a lot of PII data with the whole transaction data, and this is a regulatory requirement. This is another challenge that we are facing, that how do we separate PII data with the other data, and it was very difficult to justify, like we were just capturing the data, it was pushed into the systems, in order to identify like which one of this is PII data and which one is not, and how do we kind of differentiate between the two, and who should have access to what. So I think these were some of the unique challenges that we were facing as we were building this practice. And there was another unique case in AI/ML practice, that every country has different regulations. Like India said that it will not allow data to go outside India. Then there were other countries like Europe which doesn't allow the data to be stored at a certain without the customer consent. So how do we kind of build models and practices so that it can be applied to this whole ecosystem, right? And we have to build machine learning models which can scale across countries also, but it has its unique challenges that each country has its own regulation. So that's what another challenge that we were facing. Then there were some ethical concerns around also data, like we were giving a lot of insights on the customer, right, to banks and the merchants. So people were, there was internally a lot of debate about, are we following the best data governance practices, right? So you're giving data to banks, and banks have more data than what we have. They can actually check a lot of data governance, if whether we are being biased towards certain gender, are we more biased towards a certain set of people. So this is also a unique challenge that we are facing, that how do we ensure that the AI and ML that we are building for the world, for the billions of customers, is it fair, is it not biased? And unique challenge for MasterCard is that also that we don't see the whole set of data. So we see a part of the data, and then we have to do data governance from our side and ensure that it is still consistent. And it's a research topic in itself, right? It's not something that is solved till now. Like we also are learning from the academia, how do we kind of take care of this problem? That how do we take care of problem of ethics, right? Like we have to be consistent, because sometimes somewhere the data is going to be scrutinized by somebody in the regulatory space, and he's going to come back to us and say, why is such a credit delinquency score for certain customer versus not for the other customer. So I think these are the unique challenges that we are facing. And as I came here, I wanted to have some understanding of how people are solving some of these cutting edge AI/ML data governance issues that we are facing. So I think what these are 3 or 4 points that so AI/ML systems have to be like have full respect for privacy, as well as has to have data protection. And it is somewhere very difficult in this present scenario, how should we do it? And they should be transparent, right? They should tell why if we're giving a score to the customer saying that your credit delinquency score is higher, right? We should have enough reasons to say that if somebody comes back to say, why did you refuse a credit to me? So you should have enough reasoning behind it, why did you refuse a credit to him, right? So these are some of the challenges, and we should, AI systems, because it learns from the data itself, right? So if your data is biased in the sense, it's very difficult to ascertain that data is biased, right? But if it's biased, then all your AI models are biased, and eventually your recommendations are biased, and that's the bigger problem that we are facing. Like how do we ensure that we can, because our products are like very trustworthy, and if that ethics part, or maybe the trust, the fairness part is not there, then people may not lie. We may be under a lot of scrutiny. These are some of the things, and we should be ensure responsibility and accountability that everybody should have fair access to the data. So I think this is just a work in progress that we have been trying to do. So it's an open research problem in the academia also. So it's not, I don't have the full solution to this problem. But what we have done is that at least from an organizational level, we generate a lot of logs, we generate a lot of reasoning of why we created that kind of a score, and we create a log of everything that, and we see if there is any differentiation that we see in terms of the score quality, we kind of log it, so that anywhere if the regulatory bodies come to us and ask us about this, and we have enough evidence to show them that at least at present, what are the data governance practices available in the market, we have applied it. So that's the first thing. and then we have we conduct the security audits of most of the scores that we are giving. So we are generating reports and everything so that we are reasonably secured in that sense. And for anything which is sensitive data, which is social security number, or any PII data element that we capture in our data, we ensure that there's some tokenization done on that PII data so that it is not openly available to everyone. So these are 3 or 4 practices that we have been following. And I think I just want to touch upon few points that as you build AI/ML practice that you will kind of grapple with, and we are also grappling with. The first is giving unified data is like gives a layer of innovation also, right? So what we saw that the more the analyst has access to the whole database and the one system, it does foster innovation. So that's the positive part of it. But you have to also think about the other part of it. There is always a tension between data governance and democratizing data, right? Because as we were building it, we just realized that the more we were democratizing data, right, we are giving the data to everyone. The data governance was going at the back end, right? The people were not following the regular practices, and this was and access to more data also is some sense in contrast to what democratizing data. So I think we have to just think about when we do it in an organization, it can have both its effect. So how can we kind of work with each one of them? So this is one thing that we learned from it, and we have some systems built for ensuring that there is data governance in place so that we are reasonably secured. And then some of the things that we have also been thinking about, so is about managing risk, like, so there could be theft, misuse of the data, and data corruption, right? So when we have so many people, so many vendors who are kind of accessing our data, or maybe they have some access to our data. So how can we create security and privacy solutions so that the data is also secured in that sense? So I think we have been following these practices, that we have fine-grained access control, that everybody in the organization, there's a data governance policy, and according to that, everybody has access, and they kind of have access to certain things only. And for any other things, they need a lot of role approvals, and that's how we have a big layer which is like centralized, but then if you have to access the data between different places, then you have to get those accesses. So there's a lot of access layer that we have built in on the huge data set that we have. And one of the great things that we have implemented, data retention and data deletion also. So it should not be that data should be in our systems for long, so they should be deleted, or there should be retention policies of the data should be encroached, and they should be deleted after certain time. And audit logging we are doing for all the scores, all the things that we are making. There's a proper audit logging that we do, so that there's no problem with in terms of any regulatory problems that we face. And we are creating sensitive data classes. So any class, any PI data that we store on a network, it has to be reasonably tokenized, or it should not be easily visible. So that's the 4 or 5 things that we have implemented, and we are looking for other ideas of how to do better data governance. So any questions from anyone?